Welcome to another edition of Geopolitics and Empire. As always, support the broadcast. Become a paid subscriber on the Substack, where I do a weekly roundup of the world news. I provide my own analysis, and every week or two or three, I organize off-the-record Zoom calls with supporters only, where we just discuss world events. You can donate through the website, purchase a consult if you want to chat with me. Do check out all of my affiliates. I can't even remember them all. Escape the Technocracy, Wise Wolf Gold, Expat Money, Above Phone, Easy DNS, Passvault, Start Mail. If you need a new email, I get a commission if you sign up to Start Mail. I've been using it for a decade. And Outbound Mexico. So anyone looking to get residency or temporary, permanent residency in Mexico, as well as citizenship, go to outboundmexico.com. It's a former student of mine, so they're legit. I know them, and it's actually quite affordable. It's not like one of those expat Latin America services that just charge you an arm and a leg. It's my former student. I taught him 10 years ago here in Mexico. And so check them out for your plan B or plan C or plan D in Mexico. Joining us for the first time is film director Andrew Treglia of Jones Plantation film, the movie, great movie, and Barnum World mockumentary. He's also host of the Maverick and the Machine podcast. I was just a recent guest in his podcast. Welcome, Drew.
Heyo, Hervoye. I got you now. No more torturing me with your name. I've been practicing it all morning. Hervoye.
You've graduated now. You have a PhD in Croatian linguistics.
I like how you rolled your R's a little bit with my name, Treglia. I like that.
I guess it's the Mexican in me, the Spanish.
Yeah.
But we're neighbors anyways, Italy. You're saying how you got that Roman blood, right?
Oh yeah. Like I said, I'm eligible to get my citizenship there. My mom was a genealogist before she passed, and she did all the legwork, but she didn't believe me that you had to get apostilles. She didn't know what that was. So it's basically, I don't know if you care about this, but with Italy, you can get a citizenship if you can draw your bloodline back to your great-grandfather. Now, but the thing is, if your great-grandfather comes here and he doesn't renounce before he has your grandfather, you're good. And my great-grandfather didn't want to come here. He just was kind of forced to. They were like peasants. And so he didn't renounce so he waited as long as he could before he renounced his Italian citizenship. So he had my grandfather. So my bloodline's direct back. So my mom got everything, but she didn't get the stupid apostilles. So I actually was in LA, and I went to the LA Italian consulate, and I had my stuff, and they were like, cool, but they're like, oh, you just got to get this apostille stuff. And so I've been putting that off. So I want to get that though, because that's kind of a pretty good passport. Italy's pretty friendly with most countries, and you have that for now, the Schengen agreement. You can live and work anywhere in whatever countries in Europe. So.
Yeah, I'd recommend. I'm picturing you in Roman soldier outfit, but what am I?
Oh yeah, so I'll slice you up. Or I could been a slave and been fighting lions in the Colosseums. I don't know.
And one of my sponsors, it's on the website Geopolitics and Empire, Societatis Civis. They've created an app. They've got it for Croatia, Poland, I think Argentina, and Italy. So people who are in your situation as well. It's called Citizen IT, I think. Where if you're a descendant, the app sort of guides you to, they've got people they work with, lawyers, and then direct to the embassy to help you through that process. So people
really, I'm actually interested in that. What do they charge? Because it is a real pain.
Well, it's just an app. I think it's free, and then it'll just guide you. You fill out a questionnaire depending where you live, the nearest embassy. But if you already come in contact with the embassy, you just maybe work it through them. So I haven't tried the app because I haven't had the need. But anyways, yes. So you've got a lot going on, and maybe before getting into Jones Plantation, just your background. I was looking at you on IMDb. You've been doing stuff for a while, but how did you get into media and film?
Well, I was I actually have a weird story because I did a little bit of acting when I was younger, and then I ended up in Atlanta, long story short, and I started a parking company there, and we did valet, and we also did parking management. There's some funny stories in that situation, but I don't know, because I was did a little acting and stuff, and I've always like just been a huge film buff, and I started writing a script that I still want to make someday. I'm actually not ready to make it. It's going to be like one of the jewels of my crown, but, I had a valet that was in film school, and I would tell him, hey, I want to and I never liked the acting. Like, I can lay down a performance if it's something that interests me, but the auditions, I wouldn't be nervous anymore, but I was a little nervous at that point in my life. And also I hated the lifestyle. Like, just Wednesday at 2, you got to drive halfway across town to do like a tanning lotion commercial, which that actually happened to me. And, you don't get the job, and it's just like, what am I doing here? And it's just, I don't like that lifestyle. It was very, I don't know. There's too much downtime, and I didn't like not having the control over the kind of content. But anyways, I was telling the guy, I put the camera here. I want to do this with this shot there. And he's like, dude, you're a director. You should be a director. And I had the parking company. And I was dumb enough to listen to the guy. And, so I took the GMATs, and it was like, I did really well on the spatial reasoning part, which is like really the most directorial part of the thing. And then I ended up getting into graduate school, which at the time, I know, well, first of all, I was older. Oh, I forgot to mention that fact. I was in my early 30s when this happened. So I go back to graduate school, I sell the business, and then, I'm in my mid 30s, and I start this version of my life, this career. So it was kind of insane, frankly, to do. I mean, it was really insane to do what I did. I had a pretty success. I mean, it's still there. The parking company's still there. And years ago, I haven't looked into it, but they were, I think, the largest parking company in the Southeast. It wasn't when I sold it, but I was like at that time, I was a legend in the valet business in Atlanta. I mean, I was like known. I would go around lots and be like, oh, they used to call me AT. That was like my nickname. And I used to work all the time. And I was like a legendary valet around Atlanta. Anywhere I'd go, they're like, oh, AT, which is kind of crazy and silly. And like, I invented a thing called, it sounds so dumb, but it's called NPing, not parked. So this is kind of a dumb side story, but it was like, if you have a lot with, say, 50 cars and you get 80 guests, you have to put cars in front of the cars. And then they would put the keys on the mat. And then the person would come out that was actually parked, and you go and get their keys, but you'd have to go move the car and then move, it was a whole thing. Or if their car came out and you actually never got to park it, that was really, it was challenging. So if the car was NP'd and you had to run around the parking lot for 20 minutes looking for the guy's car, which was a nightmare, especially when half the valets were like stoned, So I mean, like, I would just disappear and be like, oh, I can't find it. And then like an hour later, the customer like, where's my car? I'm like, what happened? So I made it so you could code the cars and call it NP1, NP2. And there was different codes, and every lot's different. Just this dumb little thing that kind of like transformed the valet parking business. This is probably a really boring story, but I don't think I've ever told it. So yeah, I did have a technological invention technically. So, but then I just, went on into film school and just jumped right into it. And it was interesting because when I got into grad school, that was the first project that we did. Like, I'm not talking out of line here. I'm not being braggadocio. I'm just being honest. Like, my work was so far beyond anybody in the class. And my teacher, who became a really good friend of mine, and we kind of had a falling out during the World War COVID because he was a complete COVIDiot. I just couldn't take it. I got to get away from this guy for a while, but I love the guy. But he came to me and he's like, because he went to UCLA with a bunch of famous directors and stuff. And he was really, and he just is like, dude, you got it. You got a voice. You're really good at this. You got to stick with this. So that was like, it never happened to me in school. I always hated school. And it was like the first time I had done anything where I was like, it just really felt like, okay, I made the right decision. But it's been, it's a very challenging life path, very, very challenging. And so, but here I am.
Do you have any favorite directors that you look up to or that you enjoy?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the greatest director that ever lived is Stanley Kubrick. Nobody can touch him. I mean, nobody can touch that guy. He's just incredible. I mean, he did films in every genre. He did I think the greatest horror film ever made, The Shining. He did super expensive Space Odyssey, or what I forget the name of the film.
2001 Space.
Yeah, 2001. Which you watch that now today, besides the last scene when the guy's going through the time warp, which is a little dated. That film holds up. He made that in the 60s. That film holds up. I mean, it looks gorgeous. And it was really expensive, and he got a lot of crap for doing expensive films. So what did he do? He turned around and made A Clockwork Orange for $700,000, which was like, oh, you think I can't do low budget? Watch me. And he on set, all he had was the book. So he would just go in every day and go, and look through the book. Oh, let's do this scene. And they just shot the film. And that's one of my favorite films. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Are you a film guy?
Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, he's incredible. But I mean, there's some great, actually, Italian directors. Italy has some still really good filmmaking. Paolo Sorrentino. There's a guy named Matteo Garrone. He made a film called Gomorrah. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Oh, it's fantastic. It's the best mob film ever made. It was made it's like 2006. And that's an incredible film. It's the Neapolitan Mafia, which is where my family's from, that area. There's actually a town in Italy with my name, but it's like called Treglia. I don't think they say Treglia, but it's called Treglia, Italy. And it's outside of Naples. But that film is like, there's no like mob boss. There's no like romance. It's just like the most realistic. In fact, in the film, there were mob guys that were wanted that got arrested after the film came out. The guy that wrote I think it was a book that they made into a film. He had to go into hiding. And it's just like this mob movie about the different levels of the mafia and Naples. And so you have they're all these pastiches, these little stories that are going on at the same time. And you keep cutting back. So you got the high up mob guy, and then you've got like all the way down to these like two kids that are like doing mafia stuff, but like pissing off the local mob guy. It's incredible. You got to watch it like 2 or 3 times because I don't speak Italian. So people have a hard time watching foreign films, but I tell them language is just sounds to convey emotions and feelings and symbols. And once you start, it's a weird thing that happens. If you start watching a film, you don't even realize you're reading after a while. At least that's, you know what I mean? And there's so many great foreign films out there.
Yeah, and that's my thing. I enjoy. I've always watched foreign films, and I don't mind. You just read the subtitles in English or whatever language, and yeah. I get it frustrated. I hate dubbing. Like here in Mexico, they'll dub it in Spanish, and I'm like, but then you've taken away the emotion, the original, emotion and whatnot, and you just ruin it. I cannot watch any movie that's dubbed.
I'm with you too. I can't watch it. It's unwatchable. There's a funny because you're familiar with the search engine Yandex.
Yeah.
Well, I went on there and I screwing around and I looked up Jones Plantation, and there was a Russian dubbed version, and I thought it was hilarious. I was like, this is so funny. I wonder who made this. I'm like, it was well done. Like they went into a studio and recorded it. I don't know who did it, but it was just like, I'm watching my scene. I had to watch my scene, and I can't speak a lick of Russian, so I apologize, but it was like, like, I was like, what? This is hilarious. So yeah, but it's horrible. When you watch the film, it's just, you don't even realize you're looking at language. You're looking at their emotions with their body language, and you start to, I don't know, your mind just stops noticing that you're reading. It just takes a second when you get into it.
So you get into the filmmaking world, and Jones Plantation. Before we get to that, so we're looking at your media background, and then the other component, of course, I think, is more of the conspiracy. Waking up to the nature of the true nature of our reality. And so, how did you sort of escape the Matrix?
Well, I really wanted this is before I was awake. So I come out, I think it was 2006, and I started working at PBS, and I did a couple shows there. I worked on a lot of different things there, but then I did one of my own shows. And then I ended up going to LA, and I became the post-production supervisor at this crazy studio in Beverly Hills. And at the time, LA, it was before the before times. It was like the last time LA was actually really nice. I mean, I love LA, and it really bums me. I still have a dream of going back there and taking that place over. But I don't know if that'll ever happen, but at the time it was just, and the weird thing for me for LA is I don't know what it was, but I felt like I've lived there before in another lifetime. Like I used to live in, basically Glendale and, drive into Beverly Hills, and I would go different ways every day because LA is like not really a highway town. You can drive around the neighborhoods. I don't know if you know much about it. And I would, excuse me, be driving several times. This happened to me, and I would just drive by something and just stop. And then I would drive over there and I would just have this incredible feeling like I've freaking been here before. I don't know what it is. And it is known for like ghosts. Like the Comedy Store is known for like ghosts. Apparently there was like a lot of killings there. For the mafia used to kill people there. So I forget what you asked me. Oh, so I went to LA and I made a film, and then I did this crazy documentary there that screened at the Egyptian Theater. And we had this, it was like they had a huge red carpet thing for it. It was right there, which is really the theater that red carpets were invented. But I didn't mention before was, although I did a little acting, when I went back to school, I'd never picked up a camera before in my life. I didn't even know what aperture was. Like they literally had to explain camera aperture to me. And so it was to go from there to then be on Hollywood Boulevard on this red carpet screening of my film was pretty incredible. But I don't know, something didn't feel right. I felt like I had climbed the wrong part of the mountain or something. I had to go back down. As you know, this is life as a man. You go up a mountain, you're like, oh, this is the wrong part of the mountain. I got to go back down to go up the other mountain. So I ended up here in Arizona because my daughter, her mother moved her here. And really the awakening began when my daughter was born in LA, was when my daughter was born. Because I didn't ever I thought I didn't want kids. I thought they were going to get in my way and I wouldn't have fun anymore and all that stupid shit. And once I had her, like literally in the room where she was born, like holding her for the first time and looking in her eyes, I was like, what is, why don't I have 10 of these? Sorry about this. I got something in my throat. If I could do it again, I'd have to have been raised completely differently or raised at all, but I would have 10 kids. Like you should have 6 to 10 kids. I mean, I want to come home and just be buried in children, and I'm like, why didn't I have more of these kids? And then, why am I pretty broke, and I'm really good at what I do? What's going on? And I started to unravel the string of my life. And that sort of started leading me down a rabbit hole of like, oh, okay, we're living in some sort of prison. And I was brainwashed by bad people. And they told me bad things to try and ruin my life, basically. Take my right as a human being and the life that we're supposed to live here, which is a family and children and all that good stuff. And they want to take that from you, and they want to take your life force from you. And so, over a course of time, I moved to Phoenix. I quit filmmaking for a little while, and I was literally working in a warehouse for $17 an hour. And, and I realized I didn't care that I had a tiny little apartment, but, I was paying my bills barely. And my daughter we would hang out every weekend in the apartment. We would like put up the blinds and we would just play video games. And I had this like old king size bed, and I let her use it as a trampoline. Like we had some amazing times there, and I'm like, I can do this. So that led me to realize that I want to do the kind of work that I want to do. My mind, I started reading a lot of books and, further educating myself about the situation that I was in. And, I decided I want to do the work that I want to do. And that's when I just got some money together. Somebody loaned me some money because I didn't have any extra money. And I took the assistant director for Jones Plantation down to Mexico. And we're going to just interview people. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was going to do like a documentary called Democracy Down. I was going to interview people from all different political spectrums. And then interviewed Larkin Rose. And in the interview, and I've talked about this before, but in the interview, I said, you know, democracy, so called, is actually more pernicious than maybe, you know, traditional like whips and chains slavery, because you can't see the whips and chains. You can't say like that's the guy. It's a form of mental control, which is, you know, far more powerful. And he's like, oh yeah, I did this little animation called the Jones Plantation. You should check it out. And he ended up living in Arizona. He's living in Arizona as well, which was just you know, one of those God coincidences. You know what I mean? Like you're doing the right thing. And so Doug on the way home I was like, we should make that into a short narrative with real people. And he was like, why don't we just make a feature film? So then I got back and I wrote Larkin, and I said, why don't we just do a crowdfunding campaign and turn that thing into a feature film? And then here we are. So it's like I made the decision. Once you make the decision to do what you're going to do, just like you probably made a decision. I'm going to do Geopolitics and Empire. That's it. I'm doing this. And there's no backdrop. There's no like, well, there's no like, well, if it doesn't work, I'll do this. No, it's all in, you know, there's no failure. Sorry. It's like what was like supposedly George Washington when he would fight. He knew that all he needed to do was not lose. So he would try to get any battle. He would try to have his troops backed up to the wall against a body of water. Okay. Or like some sort of a structure, like a natural, like a mountain or something, because it's fight or die. You know what I mean? It's fight or die. So, he would just get, you know, and that's just what it is. It's fight or die. Once you make a decision to do what you're going to do, this is for all the young men listening out there. Don't have any second plans, backups, none of that. You just make a decision and do it. And the universe kind of opens up for you.
There's so much here. So much motivation.
So I was babbling on.
No, it's motivation. And I'm thinking the word Maverick, like your podcast, and so much that I identify with. I mean, you've just motivated me to have my next child. We've been thinking, there's different whole host of variables, but I'm like you. Like, I wish I had started making children sooner. I have friends here that are on their sixth child.
Wow,
and I'm like,
amazing.
what am I doing? But you got, like you said, you often have to start earlier. And you have to have parents around that help you, and you have to be making money as well. I mean, not get rich, but to have a strong foundation. But also what you're saying, yeah, with Geopolitics and Empire, like I was teaching, and this was just a hobby, and then I turned it into a full-time pursuit. I still can go back to finding work and education, but I don't want to. And it's kind of like you just making that decision. Once you wake up, you can live in that world of 9 to 5 that we're told to, it's normal corporate world, but then you got to get the injections, you got to do this, you got to do that, or you can strike your own way. And I prefer trying to strike my own way. And just to go back, I guess for a second before Jones Plantation, when in that process of I guess you say you're reading a lot of books. I mean, is it for you? Was it like for a lot of us where you kind of go through every category? You're talking about the fraud of democracy, so you're looking at government, and then you look at like obviously like stuff like 9/11 and false flag attacks and wars, and then the Federal Reserve and the monetary system. Did you sort of go systematically through all of that?
I don't know. I don't know if it was systematic. I read, and when I say read, I would work, and I was able to at this job, have headphones and work with headphones on. So I was like, I basically listened to books like all day long. That's all I did. And it was a lot of like, it started with like, because it's interesting when you start reading books or listening to books. A lot of people are down on that, but I'm a way better listener than a reader. Okay. I'm a very slow reader, and I get really bored reading. Like I'm just a man of action. I need to be moving. I don't know how to explain it. I can't just sit and read a book. I feel like God, I need to be doing something, I need to be building something, but, or just doing something towards what I'm trying to achieve. But, when I'm an old man, I'll get a pipe and I will sit down and read a lot more, but it just doesn't feel right. But anyways, once you start doing it, you actually like your knowledge increases, and then you start, like at first I was reading like all these Eastern mystics, And then, I was like, I just got past that. And then I read a lot of, because when I quit it and I was working at the warehouse, although eventually I figured out I can do this and it's okay. In the beginning, I was so depressed. Like it felt like, okay, I've failed. I've failed. And, and it feels like what it probably feels like if you grow old and you're in your deathbed and you're like, why didn't I live the life that I wanted to live? You know what I mean? Why was I afraid? It felt like that. But then I realized at a certain point that I'm going to do this for 20, as long as I can, God willing, 25, 30 more years. This is just going to be, as a little glitch in the matrix of my career. I probably won't remember these years. You know what I mean? And that's when I was like, okay, just calm down and relax. But I started reading a lot of I read the ones, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Peter Thiel, 0 to 1, all those kind of books. Yeah, I don't know if there was a pattern to it, to be honest with you. I can't remember. Sorry.
But in the conspiracy minded topics, did you sort of, whether you were listening or watching or consuming, did you go through like a lot of those topics like, 9/11 or New World Order?
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that, but yes, I did.
and so Jones Plantation, then, when I, obviously I bought like the deluxe digital download when it came out. Immediately, I'm like, shut up, take my money. And for me, it was an instant cult classic. Like, honestly, when I saw it, I was like, instant cult classic. And I'd interviewed Legal Man previously on the podcast, so I had known of Legal Man. And then later, I've known of Larkin. I've seen some of his stuff. I hadn't consumed his material in great depth, so I knew of him, and I'd seen that animation previously, but it took a while to connect it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, so this was that animation, and I know Legal Man, and then it's kind of like, oh wow, and so tell us about the making of. And the crazy thing is, there's people in the alternative media space that I'll interview or that I talk to. And I'm like, yeah, the Jones Plantation. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm like, you don't, you haven't seen Jones Plantation? And I'm like, what? Go watch it now. But yeah, tell us about the making of that. And then I think the democracy aspect that you talk about, I think is also important. I've stopped voting. Like, I can vote 3 times in 3 countries. And I'm like, it's all a fraud. And I'm even coming at this from a biblical worldview, because a lot of the people that talk about this come from a non-biblical worldview, anarchy, voluntarism, whatever. And I'm like, no, it's a fraud. And there's a few Christians. There's a guy, he's a German theologian called Dr. Martin Erdmann. He was supposed to come on the podcast, I think last year, but 3 days before he had his second heart attack. He's doing okay now. Geez. But he's really dug into this, and he's said, like, democracy is this civil religion. It's a cult. It's an occult religion, and it's a sham. And now we see that all politicians are bought. It's like, NASCAR, where you put all of your logos on you. And to participate, for me, it's a simulacrum. It's a lie, because, again, if God says don't lie. So how can I vote? Because if I vote, it's fake. It's not authentic, because no matter, you've depicted it fantastically in Jones Plantation.
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you, because you're a smart guy. It is a cult. It is a religion. It's a satanic death cult, but it's a cult no less. But yeah, you're right. Participating in it. Maybe, like, I live in a little mountain town, and I could make changes here. Like, I could protect these people if I became the mayor. You know what I mean? And so what the people that get in there, I'm always a little worried, because the people that are involved with that mindset, they're parasites. That's what they are. They're parasites. And so it's so hard, because people like you are productive members of society. And I always hear this from these right-wing guys, like the Catholic trads and all this, like, we're going to take power, and then we're going to, crush our enemies, and we're going to help our friends, and blah, blah, blah. I go, okay, great. First of all, that's not going to happen. You're not going to take Satan's realm over, okay, if you will. But even if you did, and even if you crushed your enemies into it, give it 5 years. And then what you're going to do is, because you're a productive family, you're going to go back to work, and then the parasites are going to come in and do what they always do, which is they're vampires. I'll tell you a story, and people just, they can't see it. And this happened the other day. I have somebody in my orbit who is a very big Trump supporter, and she's like 70 years old, 71 years old. You know, she's still in great shape, but she's an older woman. She's a big Trump supporter, and so he can do no wrong, because it is a religion for her. Like, you can't talk to her about it. She gets like, she'll just start talking and yelling. Like, you're not yelling, but like, she won't listen to anything you say, no matter what you show her. The other day, she was so excited because at 70 years old, she got it figured out that she's got a part-time job, and then she's going to give blood twice a week. So she's going to literally have her blood drained from her to get a few bucks, which is, they don't pay you much. I think they gave you like $120. And it's, I mean, it can be healthy to give blood every now and again, or donate blood. I've done the blood give thing. I get it. But then they take your blood and then they sell it to these pharmaceutical companies for millions of dollars. And then they make, in the medical industry, she's going to give blood to survive, a 70-year-old woman. And Trump, 3 weeks ago, and I don't know if you saw this, posted a video. He's walking around the White House, the mansion he gets to live in for free. And he's just decorated this room, and he's bragging. He put up like 20 solid gold statues. Did you see this?
Yeah.
I don't know how many it was. It was like 20 solid gold statues. And I'm thinking, you're giving blood to survive, and this parasite, and they're all presidents are parasites, just different kind of parasites, different behavior, different personalities. This parasite is bragging about, I mean, how much is that? What's a gold statue? A solid gold. That's got to be what? Let's say it's 10 pounds. Well, how much is 10 pounds of gold right now? $4,000 an ounce. What's 16 ounces in a pound? I went to government school. I think that's right. Forgive me. So what is that? 16 ounces, 16 times 4,000. What's that? $65,000, 20 of them. I mean, just do the math. And you're an elderly woman, and you're having to literally give your blood to just make ends meet and, feed yourself. And you still can't see that this is just organized crime masquerading as a public service, and that they're parasites. And they're all, just like every other human being, their entire goal in life is to protect what they have and protect their best interests. But the difference is that people like you are productive, and you protecting your best interests is good for society. These people are parasites. So they just want to live high on the hog, never have to work, and never be above the law, do whatever they want. The best dinners, the best restaurants, get their asses kissed everywhere they go. And that's what they're protecting. They're protecting you is, the roads. Okay. That's like window dressing. The system, it's just a system of control and enslavement. That's all it is. It's nothing more than that. But people just can't, it's like, there's that saying, there's people that can see, there's people that can't see, and then there's people that can see, but are too afraid to see. And those are the people that keep us enslaved. The people that are too afraid to see.
Lately I've been saying, I've been referring to these groups of people as the lemmings. There's the lemmings that, or like pigs that one will start going off the cliff, then everyone does. And lately I don't have faith. People say have faith in humanity. I have a biblical worldview that all men are sinners. We're evil. Left to our own devices, we're just going to downward spiral. So I don't see any hope in humanity. And I think the lemmings are going to drive us off a cliff. And like you, I've had a recent experience here in Mexico. I've got so we have this left-wing party, Morena, in Mexico. But as you say, you realize there's absolutely no difference. So 10 years ago, we had the right wing, and they were trying to implement digital ID technocracy, and they were beaten back. And now the left wing is doing it. And so the left wing, Morena, some dumb politician proposed a new law of if you make memes to make fun of other people, including politicians, we'll stuff you in jail for up to 6 years. And I post that news because we got to keep an eye out for this. They've proposed this, raise the alarm, right? So to push it back. And some of my left, and I said the narco-terrorist government of Mexico. So I had a left-wing Mexican friend and a friend from my church who's supposed to see beyond this. And they're like, oh, I don't believe this. So my left-wing Mexican, and these are people I've told them about COVID. They've seen me accurately predict COVID events into the future. I'm like, you guys are supposed to understand now. And they're leftists, and they think, oh, no, I don't believe this. It's like right-wing propaganda. I'm like, it's got nothing to do with right-wing. It's like, it's kind of what you're saying. It's like, oh, that's my team. I identify with them. The Morena, the lefties. They're not going to do that. And I'm like you just said, they don't care about you. They're proposing it. Like, it's like, I don't understand. It's this Stockholm syndrome. And
that's exactly what it is, Stockholm syndrome, not to cut you off. I've been thinking about that this morning, that very word. It's the same thing of like a drug addiction, where this drug is killing me, but I have to have it. But go ahead, I cut you off.
No, I mean, there was a crazy example. I follow the blog del Narco on Telegram, and X tells you what's the crazy news in Mexico. And there was a guy in some small municipality in Mexico, stand-up citizen. He's petitioning the government to fix the roads, just as you said. And it seems like the mayor was ignoring him, and he was recording a video of the potholes, and he's saying like, look, this is what we need to fix. Stand up, Mex. And two guys on the motorbike, sicarios, hitmen, shoot at him while he's recording. And it's like a 15-minute recording. He falls to the floor. It's still recording. And he's like, it's sad. He's like telling his wife, they shot me. I'm dying. Tell the children I love them. I love you. Make sure they get a good education. And he curses the government. He's like, damn government. And he might still be alive. But then you're thinking, well, then who took him out? If he's petitioning the government doesn't want to do anything. They probably told the narcos to take him out. Meanwhile, I've got my Christian and lefty Mexican friends saying there's no narco-terrorist government. It's like literally the governor told the narcos to kill this citizen trying to improve the world, and you're pretending it's not a narco government. I can't anymore. I just can't.
Yeah, I get black. I vacillate from being black pilled and white pilled. I mean, like if you try to build a road here, they'll stop you. They'll arrest you. Or, when the floods happened in North Carolina, which they hate that part of the world. Those are some real Americans there. And the ironic thing is, I can't remember the name of it. It's an area in America. There's two areas in America where they have the most based Americans. These guys still like ride around on horses. And the irony of it is they're the number one fighters in their military in the wars, and they hate them the most. It's what is the name of the mountains? It's the
Appalachians.
That's it. Appalachia. Appalachia is like the region. And they flooded that place with drugs, and I just hate those people. But when they had this really bad flood, which was very shady flood, it was very weird, the flood there. And then I didn't do a deep dive in this, but apparently there's a drug company that needs some resource that's in that area that they discovered, and then all of a sudden this flood happens 2 weeks later.
Lithium. I think they were talking about lithium.
I think it was or something like that. I didn't look into it too much because this is the thing about it with stuff like that. I rarely do deep dives anymore because as soon as I see it, I know that they've done something. You know what I mean? And it's disturbing. And I don't need to go, Charlie Kirk did the bullet came this way and the bullet came that way. I know that they're lying. I don't know what happened. I know I'm never going to know what happened, and I know they're lying. And I'm pretty sure Israel was behind it. I know those three things, but yeah. And so people were trying to go down there and help the people there because the government was doing nothing for them. They literally gave them like $700 each person, and the same day they sent Israel or Ukraine, one of those two, like this crazy, $100 million package, and they were all cheering. And it's like they're really like sticking it in your nose and going, yeah, here it is. Here's the dog shit. Smell it. And it's just ironic that all those people are like the tough, like that's their tough war people. But the good news is from that is little white pill is that those people have decided like that they're not joining the military anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know where I was going with that, but I don't even remember what you asked me. I just went off on a tangent.
I don't either. Send the robots. But okay. no. But then getting back to Jones Plantation, just further thoughts on, putting that together. How did you come, to meet Legal Man, get him in there?
Oh, that's another thing. Well, I discovered Legal Man's podcast, and it was during the World War COVID, like right in the middle of it. And I hadn't really started talking on the internet or anything. And he has these like 8 or 10 podcasts where he's just going off on the thing. And I'm like, oh, I love this guy because there were times, I'm sure you went through it, where you're like, am I the only person that's not insane right now? Like, what is going on here? And so that it was good to have that podcast because I was like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And so then I became a Patreon, and I just was trying to cast the thing during the COVID thing. And I was like, I have to think outside the box. And I was like, you know what? Legal Man could play Mr. Jones. He understands the character, and I know he can act because I've heard his podcast. I know he can talk. And so first time I contacted him, I'm like, hey, I wanted to talk to you about a project I'm doing. Hit me up or something. He didn't respond because he probably thought I was like a Fed, I think he actually did.
I have that. I have that same.
I want to sell you. I got some guns I want to sell you. We should get together. We're forming a group, an anti-government group, and we got a bunch of guns. But then I wrote him back and explained it in detail, Larkin, and he contacted me, and he was interested. And one thing led to another. And I went to Texas and met him for breakfast, and we sat there and ate for like 8 hours, talked for like 8 hours at this restaurant. And then it was like, okay, he's going to do it. And that was a really big move because the film needed to be a cult film because the initial thought, and I know Larkin had this thought, but he wanted it to be this dramatic period piece. I'm like, we just can't compete with the budget we have. We have to do something that's never been done before. It's got to be a one-off, and it's going to have elements of almost every genre. And so I wanted it to be kind of funny, and he's a funny dude. And so he brought like some comedy now there's been a small percentage of people that didn't like his performance because they expected the drama. Like a lot of them, there was a small percentage that didn't like the music because they expected the, traditional, music. We had to do something completely different. And so.
No, I'm just going to say, I prefer like what you're describing. People saying the serious drama. I'm like, no, the way that it was done, I think that was the way to do it. I wouldn't have liked anything like serious. Like I think what you guys did was
like that, and like dramatic. Oh, the government is so evil. Like it was just would have been corny. I don't know, it wouldn't have worked. And like I said, we don't have the budget for that. I mean, I'm not going to compete with. I mean, a period piece. The fact that the film even got done was a miracle. But the fact that it's actually watchable and people like love it all over the world for the most part. Actually, the fact that there's most people love it. There's some people that don't like it because it's indie. They don't know how to watch an indie film. It's like, but there is a small percentage of people that actually despise it, which is really good. I love the haters.
But who are these people? Like, what are the reasons that
you're screwing with their programming? I'm pretty sure. Like there's a girl that said it because I go on the reviews. I haven't done it in a while, but it's funny because there was like this one review and I posted it where the person on top said, this is the best movie I've ever seen. This needs to be taught in schools. It should be all over the world. And literally the review below it said, I hated this film so bad it made me physically ill. And I was like, that's a good thing. It's a great thing because it's like the old Clint Eastwood line. He's like, beat me, rape me, rob me, but don't bore me. And that's it. Like if everybody's just like, it wasn't bad. But to have people just physically get physically ill. I mean, people are like, oh, how I despise this film. And one guy wrote, I've seen it twice and I hated it just as much the second time, which makes no sense. And it's just, that's a good thing. It's like triggering people. And maybe some of those people will go back and watch it in a year or 2 years. If they start seeing it, they can start seeing more and more how much they've been lied to, and how this whole thing is just a gigantic scam. We live in the world is a beautiful world created by God, but the systems that the human beings are in are all demonic and evil, for lack of a better word. They're just all evil. I mean, there's if people could wake up and their consciousness could elevate, and we could literally live like from the bottom up instead of the top down, we wouldn't have to put up with any of this stuff. There'd be problems, of course, but we would not have to put up with all this crazy. There would not be, what is it? How many dead Gazan kids, and the Ukraine, 500,000 people, and I mean, all the stuff. None of this would have to happen. None of it would have to happen.
And I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm done. Go ahead.
I just want to add to that thought, given my experience of everything that I've read, living around the world, being a citizen of multiple countries, seeing the corruption, it's just kind of like through and through. I'm done. Like you look at any country in Europe now that's in the EU, like my Croatia, and there was a documentary put out like 20 years ago about this. I think it's called like Brussels Remote Control or something. If you can find it, it's great for people to look up. Every country, like with the Croatian government, it's like the president, the prime minister's the local politicians, they're remote controlled from Brussels. What's the point of voting? And then here in Mexico, I always use the example. We had the elections last year. I never even took my voter ID card, and I couldn't. Now I can't renew my bank debit card. I don't have a debit card because they want the voter ID. I'm like, I don't vote. What does that have to do with my bank? Screw you guys. And we had the three political parties in Mexico. It's kind of like one of them, the old right-wing parties. I interviewed Jefferson Morley, who wrote a fantastic book, Our Man in Mexico. He declassified the documents, how multiple Mexican presidents were CIA agents. So the old right-wing parties are like CIA agents.
Oh, yeah.
The Morena party is this left-wing globalist communist party who wants a North American Union and digital IDs. And then you got the other citizens movement, the Orange Party, that's like they wanted to change the constitution to force inject you. They wanted an internal Soviet passport, so you can't enter the state without a vaccine passport. They tried to pass laws where if you insult the politician, Samuel Garcia in Nuevo Leon, you go to jail. You know that meme? Straight to jail. You overcook chicken. You undercook chicken. Straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
And so it's like, so I'm just giving examples. Like the U.S., Russia. People think, oh, Russia, Putin let's go to Russia. I'm like, Russian government is corrupt through. I've lived in Kazakhstan. It's all corrupt everywhere. It's just one big club. You ain't in it, right?
Yeah, and then I had a woman like come at me on Twitter because I posted this thing about, I don't know, some meme, and she's like, why don't you, if you hate it here so much, why don't you find a country you love and go live there? And I said, I don't hate America. I hate the government. And I said, you're confused because you've been brainwashed. You've been confused to think the government is America, America is the government, and it's not the case. And then she wrote me back and she goes, she said something like, no, I'm not confused. She said, why don't you make a film that's not so cynical about a government that cares about your freedom? That's what she said. She goes, yeah, the politicians are stupid. We just got to get the right people in there. And at that point, what am I going to say to you? The government cares about my freedom. People actually believe that here. It's so funny because you get brainwashed here when you're young, and they got the whole freedom machine. This is the freest freedom machine that ever freedomed, the government with America and the founding fathers. None of the founding fathers wanted this, would have agreed, none of those people back then, the barbers and the blacksmiths and the whatever, bartenders, they wouldn't have gone and fought in the winter with under clothed and less ammunition and, left their families if they thought this is what it's going to look like in 250 years. They wouldn't have fought with what it looked like 12 years later. That people don't realize that they had the Articles of Confederation here, which was this loose confederation, and of course they rolled it up in about 10, 12 years. They waited, which is what they always do. And then they brought in the federal court system and then taxation for corporations. And now here we are. And people were raised here to believe that, and you're American, that it was the bicameral body, and it's what do they call that? With uh, they're all watching each other. What's that called?
Checks and balances? No.
Yeah, the checks and balances, and it's freedom, and we run the government, and they work for us, and I'm like, forget everything I'll say about the government, this government, the United States government, being the most murderous, thieving government that ever lived. There's one thing you can't argue: it's the largest, most in debt government in the history of the world in 250 years. How can you square that circle? I don't understand. How can you tell yourself that you're free and that you own the government and that the government has checks and balances and it's limited government and by the people, for the people, and we have the largest, most indebted government in the history of the world? I don't understand. It's just people just can't. They're afraid. They're afraid to see it. They're afraid to see it. It's kind of maddening, but it really makes me mad because I hate seeing people, this abuse that the people go through. You know, it makes me sick that woman I was telling you about, that she has to live like this, but she's got the key to her own prison, but she just won't open the door.
And I mean, even foreign policy, once you start to learn as an American, the wars, and there's that story. I mean, you probably have seen this story where there's a town where everything's utopian and perfect, but they have a child somewhere in the basement.
Oh, I know this one. Yeah, I haven't read it, but I know you're talking about.
Right, that they torture it just to keep everything utopian. And I feel like that's America, because I have this, everything you've laid out with friends and family and strangers, they tell you the same thing. Because in America, I mean, if you work hard, and I still believe you can get, like, have a decent life, middle class. People are still going there to America, so it's got its advantages. You can live in a nice suburban life. For now, until the second Civil War, starts, but before the collapse. But where was I going with this? But then you look at foreign policy, and you look at these wars in Iraq, in the 90s, and Vietnam. You can whichever war, but a great example. We've got enough facts to show that, like, to the 2003 Iraq War, Saddam didn't, one of my professors in Geneva was Curtis Dobler. He's a Dutch-American international human rights lawyer. He was Saddam Hussein's defense, and it wasn't because Saddam was a good guy. I had a girlfriend straight out of Baghdad when I was in Chicago, a very pretty lady girl, and she would do anything just not to go back to Baghdad. So it's like, again, people get confused. You're like, oh, you love dictators. I'm like, it's nuanced. Yeah, he's a bad guy, but he wasn't linked to 9/11. He didn't have WMDs. And so you got all these neocons, Rumsfelds and all that crew, like, we're going to start a war to make all this money to create the framework for the police state. Mm-hmm. And then there was a study done later by these, like, physicians, this NGO, that said that war, was it Joseph Stiglitz, who said it cost like 5-6 trillion. Just that money was given to all these parasites, as you call them. And 1 to 2 million civilians, Iraqis, died as a result of that war. And then if you're an American, you're like, I'm fine. So that's the cost of you being able to live in your utopia in America. But that's just one example of Iraq, that millions of Middle Eastern civilians died. Now do other wars. Some people have said it's like 20 plus million that are dead around the world, civilians, as a result of U.S. foreign policy. So it's got
to be more than that. It's got to be more than that. I mean, I think the number that they gave, and these are all crazy numbers, but it doesn't matter. You get the idea of the mammoth, the intensity of them. 100 million civilians were killed by their own governments in the 20th century alone. I don't know what, and they give you these bullshit narratives, and you repeat these narratives that religion killed more people than anything in history. And you're like, no, it didn't. Governments killed more people than anything in history. It's not even remotely close. Did you say your girlfriend wanted to go back to Iraq?
No, she wanted to do everything not to go back to Iraq while Saddam was still in power.
It's interesting because I got a Uber one time from a guy from Iraq, and he was Christian, and he was like serious. Like, he had crosses all over the car. He was playing Christian music, and I got to talking with him like I always do with the Uber guy, and he was like, "I love Saddam Hussein. I love Saddam Hussein," and he was like a doctor over there or something. So he said, and he's an Uber driver here, and he said Saddam Hussein protected all the religions, like Christians were protected. And as soon as the Americans came in, it was like all hell broke loose, and he had to leave. And it's like, how many, I don't know if I agree with the guy about Saddam Hussein, but I understand where he's coming from. If you're a Christian and you don't want your church burned to the ground, and the guy's protecting your church because he's trying to keep things together, keep order, his life was completely wrecked. How many people's lives were wrecked? I mean, you're talking about the death. What about people's fortunes being destroyed, their houses being destroyed, their lives being destroyed? The crazy thing is, like in the American military, so many more deaths would have occurred if there wasn't the technology to give them, like, the technology they have. They've developed all this like tech. There's so many guys with like one leg and one. You see them all. I see them, all the time out in the wild. You'll see somebody with one leg, or missing an arm, or it's just how many people like that would have died if it wasn't for like some medical advances that they had over there. So just how many people like that got screwed up, or how mentally. In Barnum World, we've got that guy who's dealing with the VA. He's like crying and he can't get his meds and he can't get the same counselor, and he's got to go back and tell the stories over and over again. It's just, oh man. Yeah. It's just terrible all the way around.
And then just to mention, because you're talking about the 20s, that's a key point. So RJ Rummel is the guy, I don't know if he coined the phrase democide, but he wrote the book, I think Death by Government. And he showed like that number that 100 million plus killed by Russia, Soviet Union, and China, and European governments, and the US, and then the events of the 2020s to skirt around the censors. That was democide, straight out democide. And it's like, if you don't understand it by now, I was in Kazakhstan and then in Mexico. It's like literally every single institution in Mexico, all government institutions, the police enforcers, the businesses, the Walmarts, the supermarkets, the schools, the hospitals, banks, every single institution tried to literally kill you. It killed some of the people that I know. Still to this day, every month, every few months, I'm getting calls from person that I know that is now dying because of what they were forced to take. They're literally trying to kill us, and people they have the Stockholm syndrome, they
can vote their way out of it. It's hilarious. I mean, look at, like, in America, the Republicans are always like, oh, Reagan, I'm a Reagan Republican, Reagan, he said a lot of nice things. He was not a good president. I don't want to get into that, but just ask yourself, if voting works and Reagan was this great president, since Reagan, are we freer? Are the taxes less? Is the surveillance less? Have things gotten better? I mean, voting works. Why? It's like a tack right, tack left, tack right, tack left, headed to the digital prison.
Well, on that point, before getting to Barnum World, I mean, where do you think we're going? How bad is it going to get? Because I think this is the key thing. The digital prison is the big one. I mean, Palantir is working hard now. The UN, World Economic Forum, next week is meeting. They're talking about cyber polygon and transhumanism. Just this morning, Sam Altman, I caught a clip, I shared it, that says, he literally comes out and he says, we need a world government because AI.
Yeah. Wow.
So
they're all horrible, and they're all like dysgenic too. It's like, that's the other thing. Like, I imagine that some of the leaders, like George Washington, was 6'2", wood teeth. He wasn't what they said he was. He was actually like more base, but like, dude was a badass. Like, there's no badasses anymore. None.
Have you seen Peter Thiel that's there? He's all greased up. Like, I don't understand.
Geez, oh man, just think of what he just got sodomized. Now he's in an interview. Like, I just can't even. It's so, yeah. And he's like walking out. Remember the one he said, should humans survive or something? And he's like, yeah. And then he's like talking, he's trying to pretend like he's Christian now. That's the other thing. They're starting to try to incorporate themselves in the religion. That whole Charlie Kirk event they did for his funeral, that religious insanity they did, like fake religious, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The memorial.
They're infusing themselves into that into Christianity.
Yeah, it's false. But this morning, like just before I connected again, it said, I just saw the headline: tech billionaire Peter Thiel warns that Greta Thunberg, no fan of hers, but he says that Greta and the critics of AI are legionnaires of the Antichrist. I'm like, is today opposite day? So
What?
no, it's like the AI and you technocrats are Antichrist, and you're calling the critics Antichrist.
Yeah. Isn't there a thing? I mean, I'm no Bible expert. I told you, I think when I interviewed you, I got a Bible and I've been slowly going through it. But isn't there something in there where the religions all come together and form this like one religion? It's like this fake religion where isn't that what basically?
Well, I mean, it implies in the Book of Revelations that this beast, which one thing I don't like is when sometimes listeners are people who have, even within Christianity, there are certain things we can know for certain, but then there are other things that still I don't think anyone knows until we get closer to the event, and people are like, I have figured out completely prophecy, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. And I've gone through every imaginable theory in the past 20 years, reading books saying Islam's going to take over or this or that, and I'm like, I'm not quite seeing it, but to your point, it implies that some beast comes and takes over all of the earth. It takes power over all nations and tribes and people on planet Earth, rich and poor, it doesn't matter, everyone. And then basically it's gonna give you a choice where you take this mark of the beast, and I think it's principally a spiritual decision, like in the book of Daniel. Like, are you gonna take this mark and bow down? You'll be okay. Obviously, you can go to hell, or if you reject it, you're gonna be killed. But obviously, you're going to heaven because you accept. You're not denying your faith in Jesus and God, and so that's ultimately, I think, that's pointing to what you're talking about, where it's going to take power. And the Pope, last week, the Pope of the Catholic Church was. Did you see that where puts his hand on a big giant piece of ice, and basically praying. So he's praying to ice, to water, to the climate, to the weather. And I just thought, wait a minute. In the Old Testament, there was this false god, Satan or whatever, one of the false gods called Baal. You go to Wikipedia and you see Baal is known as the god of fertility, but he's also the god of weather, synonym for climate. So here you have the Pope praying to the god of weather, climate or weather, which is also Baal, the god of the Old Testament. So it's just kind of like... Anyways, I don't know, we're ranting here, but yeah.
No, you've done a lot of good work on this unit. I was talking about as well, and I think that they're building these, like, they have Christian, Jewish, and Islam. This place in Israel where they have the three.
It's in UAE. It's in the UAE. I think it's called the Abrahamic House. Yeah.
See, you know this stuff more than me. Like I said, I know 30,000 feet for a lot of this, but oh, you've done a lot of good work, and I've listened to you talk about the universalist religion that they're putting together. It's like universalism. It's like it's
right. So I mean, because faith like Christianity are exclusive. It's like Jesus is the only way, which means it's exclusive. So what they're trying to do is remove any parts that say no, this is the only way, and then bring in make a universalist version of Islam and Judaism and Christianity, and then a lot of the Eastern stuff is anyway universalist, right? Hindu, Buddhist. It's like we're all one, that all roads lead to God, and so. But someone was commenting, Sam Altman now. Elon Musk talked about this a year ago. Musk and I think their ilk feel they're trying to create a new religion that's fusing like technology. AI and New Age. They're building this new sort of God.
Wow.
So I think this is a new pivot. I mean, we're just going to have to see how that plays out. But where do you think they're trying to take us? What's sort of after everything you've looked at? Where do you think
straight to hell, man? But I'll tell you this: it is kind of like. I mean, God is the ultimate trickster. By the way, just real quick, some of that universalist stuff isn't horrible to me, where we are all one and we all should, but to a point, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not, there is a lot of stuff you can pick from those religions, but I've noticed recently with the Catholicism, and Jay Dyer does a lot of good work on this because he just despises Catholicism. He's just like the hardcore Orthodox guy. Whatever you think of that argument, they are, at least the hierarchy is beginning to move to universalism, and they've basically it started with Vatican II, and it's getting more and more crazy with now they're like he had transgenders in the Vatican. Like, that's not Catholicism. That's something else, and it's been, it's turned my favorite word, demonic. But where is this going? I don't know. I don't know if we're going to win or lose. I don't know. I think I'm fairly certain. I don't know if I'm fairly certain. That sounds ridiculous, but I think that the states will break up in the 2030s. I think that's coming, and it's not going to need to be. It's not going to need to be a civil war. It's just going to be. It's just going to dissolve, and what that looks like, it could. I'm pretty white pilled about that. That would be wonderful if we could get this dip. But what they're going to bring in afterwards, I don't know, and I have a feeling that there's not going to be Israel either. I think they're in big trouble. But I know more that this country there is no saving this. Like it's mostly Republicans trying to keep the thing together and right wingers. Like I heard Tucker Carlson just did his last podcast where it was interesting. He was talking about civil war. We're on the verge of civil war. But he never mentions, why don't we just have secession and go back to what the people fought for in the Revolutionary War and let the states, each state, and they're always like, well, it'd be so dangerous. China would take us or Russia. I'm like, it would be a lot harder to take what would basically be 50 countries that have like mutual relationships and trade with each other. It'd be a lot harder to take that over. It'd be like invading Europe, the entire Europe, than to have a central power in Washington, D.C. And they're already owned, they've already been taken over. It's just easy. Just go get them. And then there people were like, well, good luck getting your avocados. Somebody said that to me one time. She was in California. I'm like, you think the California farmers are going to sell me avocados? What are you talking about? They sell avocados all over the world, you idiot. I
bought avocados while I was in northern Kazakhstan. So
yeah, they're going to make money. So I think that's coming. What that looks like, I don't know. But I think it needs to happen. I am not. If you want to transition your kids and mutilate your children, we're not countrymen. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want your vote to have any. I don't want you to have any influence over my life. We're not countrymen. You know what I mean? And there's no reason why California should have the same government as Mississippi. It makes no sense. You can't have a single government like this over this many people anywhere, and it's just corruption all the way down. I mean, we've had the same. It's supposed to be this great democracy. You tell me Nancy Pelosi wouldn't, if it wasn't corrupt to the core, Nancy Pelosi would be in office for 50 years or whatever she's been doing. Everybody hates her. Like, she's an awful human being. Gavin Newsom, he's just friends with the richest families in California, and they just rig it and he gets in. It's just absurd. But it's going to come. It's not going to be like, I don't think it'll be like a revolution, but the Tucker thing, there's no going back. Like, the people that have been programmed and brainwashed to this point that are on the left or whatever, there is no getting along with these people. They are gone. They want to kill you. They want to murder you. That's it. And they're going to get worse and worse and more, enthused and promoted. And there's just no getting along. And why would you want to? I don't understand. What are you getting from all this besides this like notion that you had when you were a little kid that somebody told you that we were the freest freedom machine that ever freedomed, and the flag and all that stuff that you're programmed to believe. Why do you want to save this? Why don't you just want to have more freedom, and have peace? You can have peace, but whatever it looks like, that's my biggest prediction. By 2030s, this will be very, very different than it is now.
Just to add to that, I stayed up till like 2 a.m. So Ian Davis, he's written for Geopolitics Standby. He's been a guest. He's out in the UK. Really great work. So Whitney Webb just published his latest article over at Unlimited Hangout, which I was reading till 2 a.m. It's titled "City States Without Limits," and he just sent me.
Oh, I saw that. What's that about? Yeah, go ahead.
But I've been talking about this as well, and he just sent me his new book, not yet published. And so it's like 500 pages. And and I have a book that's like 600 pages that I have to read for a guest in 2 weeks. So it's kind of like, but I want to get him on. But it talks about, what you're talking about, it does make sense, but you know how the elites, they'll always hijack something or pivot it in another direction.
Yeah,
And basically what they're trying to do, they sell us this libertarian techno
Right.
dream of decentralizing and city state and like networks. But I think what can happen is they're gonna, it'll seem like decentralization, but then they're gonna push it back towards re-centralization, because they're gonna be multitude of city states, but they're gonna be have to connect it to the, you're gonna have like a digital twin of that city state, and it's gonna be connected to the grid, and then these like sort of city states will be sort of corporate feudalities or whatever you call them, and they're going to be run by the Peter Thiels and the Curtis Jarvins and was it the Nick Lands and all these people. So there's the danger it can pivot to that way. I mean, so it's basically 15-minute cities rebranded. Trump calls them freedom cities. I live in a resilient city, which is a 15-minute city, smart city, and so there's that danger. So and it could be like, as you say, they might do it violently, Civil War 2.0, or they might not do it violently, but then maybe it'll be parts secession, and then partly just sort of over time morph into these digital city-state gulags. Maybe some regions can escape that. I don't know, but I did want to get your thoughts on Barnum World as well, your latest, which was a bit of a. And I wasn't familiar with Barnum's statements as well, and I think that was another good way of trying to get across. Just thoughts on the making of Barnum World, and it's available for free viewing, right?
Yeah, we made a promise to the audience to just make it available for free, so it's on YouTube. You can go watch it. It's basically like the way I look at Barnum World and Jones Plantation is like a diptych. So Jones Plantation is a film. It's a fiction film that shows you how the infrastructure was created. You know, how they went from the whips and the chains to the psychological programming, the mind control, and propaganda. And then Barnum World shows how they utilize the tricks to keep the thing going. And it's a film. We have a guy, Natty Jones, played by Legal Man, who's a Hollywood propagandist, producer. And he comes in and he just does a tell-all. And his whole thing is like, well, like, why are you telling us this? Aren't you giving the game away? He's like, it's not going to matter. Nobody's going to listen to me. Nobody's going to do anything. It's almost like a revelation of the method for him, And people have some people, I was surprised. A lot of people said they liked it better than Jones Plantation. I was kind of shocked by that. I mean, we made it for $40,000. It's basically him. And then, so he tells us what's up. And then I just prove it with footage of the real world. It's just back and forth through the whole thing. But the Barnum statements, a Barnum statement is a statement. It sounds really meaningful and powerful, but in fact, it's meaningless because it means something different to everybody that hears it. But it's a tool that they use, and it's unverifiable and unfalsifiable. So they can just say them, and it doesn't mean anything, but it can get you riled up. Make America Great Again is a fantastic example of a Barnum statement. Like, you put 20 people in a room and ask them all to write down in 2 sentences what Make America Great Again means to you. You're going to get 20 different answers. Freedom is a Barnum word. It's a Barnum word. Freedom. What does that mean? Freedom means something different to everybody.
But even Make America Great Again, like then you see that it was used like going back 20 years ago, like by Clinton.
Oh yeah, Barnum. Yeah, well, freaking Clinton used it and Reagan, and then and then Trump went and used it. Oh, he's like, we're gonna make it so great. Oh, we're gonna make it so great. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, for who? Who you making America great again? For who? Build Back Better is another great one. There's a million of them. What is that? Trust the Plan. That's another really good one.
There's still people trusting the plan. I can't believe it.
Yeah, there's just we have Barnum statements in Jones Plantation. He says in the first scene of the film or second scene of the film, he's like, trust the plan, sweetheart, trust the plan. Jeez, excuse me. I'm in the mountains. I'm like allergic.
They're spraying you. No.
Yeah, they're spraying here. This is Arizona. They spray a lot.
So Jones Plantation, Barnum World, and then you also started recently your Maverick. Forget that.
Maverick in the Machine.
Maverick in the Machine. I just had a brain fart. Maverick in the Machine. And so, the thoughts on that, getting into podcasting, and then what's the future hold for Drew?
We want to make a film. I like podcasting. I'm going to actually, I've been thinking a lot about, I think I've done like 15, 16 episodes. And I think I'm going to start mixing it up where I'm going to do film-based podcasts. Because I'm like, I want to differentiate and like do like, one interview a month, 2 interviews a month, and then do film, like honestly, just fun film. It's just because I'm like, I want to do, I want to do, it's my expertise and what I love. Why am I not talking about this stuff? So, but what did you ask me about? Oh, we're working, the next film we want to make is called Crazy Eddie. And it's in the like embryonic stages, but it's going to be this generation's Dirty Harry. Except for this time, Eddie, unlike Dirty Harry, is not like the cops are corrupt and there's about corrupted. Like he's like, this whole thing is a scam. They don't work for the people. They're paid by the government. They work for the government, and so he quits. And his brother's like a high up bureaucrat. So his brother starts bringing him these cases where these Soros DAs, it's all scammed up. The mayor is going to be based on that creep that used to be the mayor of Chicago, the one before the idiot that they have now, the Beetlejuice lady.
Oh yeah, I forget her. I already forgot her name.
The lesbian lady who's really racist but married to a white Jewish woman. So anyways, she's horrible. Yeah, what is her name? Beetlejuice is her real name. And so then there's a child trafficking element to it that he gets involved in, and underneath it, there's a character who's, he's like an online, like one of these gay groomer teachers.
Lori Lightfoot was her name.
Lori Lightfoot. Yeah. Lori Lightfoot. Lori Light and the Loafers. But there's a gay groomer teacher. He's like kind of popular online. He's got like his channel, love is love. But at night he dresses up as a transsexual and he's a serial killer. So that's going on underneath the thing, and he's involved with the pedophile ring. But anyways, his brother's bringing in these cases, and he does vigilante justice on these criminals. There's an Antifa group. Dude, it's going to be wild. It's going to be freaking wild. I have no restrictions. Like I'm going to go after the regime in ways that no other filmmaker will. Nobody. And so but this one I've got to get financing. I want to shoot it in Portland, actually. But Crazy Eddie's a madman, and we based him on this guy that Charlie Amsden, who was the camera op on Jones Plantation, and he worked on Barnum World, and he's a friend of mine. But this cop that he knows, this sheriff guy that he knows from Alaska, who's just like crazy badass dude, and he's just got a really bad temper, and what really sets him off is messing with kids, and so this pedophile child trafficking ring comes into play with the mayor's involved, and it's going to be intense, and it's going to be, the opening scene, he basically quits the force, and there's like riots in Portland, and he's like, anyways, I won't bore you with the details, but that's what I'm working on now. That's like the next one I want to do.
Well, I'm worried. I mean, I hope you can bring it to light. So you'll need financing. You can crowdfund it, or are you confident you'll be able to?
I'm worried too. I mean, we're going to do a crowdfunding campaign. Why wouldn't we? Because it's also a good way to get an audience, to start building an audience. And it's also a good test market, see if people are actually interested in it. I just know like vigilante and vigilante justice is going to be, that's a very, and especially in this time period, like the way they've set this up to cause this, they call it anarcho-tyranny, where you have anarchy, you have tyranny in the form where the criminals get away with whatever they want. It's like, the way I see it is like America's kind of run by Bane now. If you've seen that Batman, which is pretty good, but it reminds me of what we're going through right now. That's almost like Revelation of the Method, where we basically have Bane. Bane is in charge of California. That guy is evil. Yeah, we'll do a crowdfunding campaign, but we need investors. Like nothing crazy. Like the $1 to $5 million range is a really good range because the investors are going to make a fortune, but I can also do what I need to do. It's not like, if you start getting into the 15, 30 millions, they want to start telling you what to do. You got to let me edit this thing because nobody's going to know how to edit it better than me. And so I have to have final cut on it. But I mean, I'm looking for input. I'm not I'm not overly proud or arrogant about it. Like I listen to input, you know what I mean? I like getting input, and you figure out what the truth is through input. You know, if you have 5 people telling you one thing and 9 times out of 10, they're right. You know, if everybody's like, she cut that. And you're like, we got to keep it. You got to listen to them. And I've made that mistake before where I didn't listen to people. And I'm like, I should have cut that scene. But I'm not going to make it again. But yeah, we're going to have investors, and we're going to do a crowdfunding campaign. And yeah, you know, that is a challenge. It's a never ending challenge. How the hell am I going to get this money? There's lots of rich people in our sphere that could do a really cool project that they could go, hey, I was one of the producers on Crazy Eddie, and but we can't. I made Jones Plantation for $300,000. I can't do it again. I can't. That was a miracle. I don't think I'm gonna get lightning in a bottle twice, and we need money for marketing. And I want to bring in a couple actors that you've seen before. You know what I mean? That you'll know. So that's what I'm working on.
And, I know there have been in the past, maybe they're still listening now, listeners of Geopolitics and Empire that I know have a lot of money. And so if you're out there listening,
contact me. Yeah, contact me. Yes, let's talk. I will make you a lot of money. You're not going to lose money. The film is going to blow up, and we have to have enough money we can, get it out there while we're shooting. You know what I mean? I've learned a lot about marketing on Jones Plantation, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
But beyond making money, I think the other importance is when I was with TNT Radio, that was part of the idea of TNT Radio was there was a guy with a lot of money that got frustrated with the COVID totalitarianism and threw money at the people who created TNT Radio. It said, make some counter propaganda to the mainstream media propaganda. And so by funding something like what you're doing, through art, there's people who, by the way, I just came across there's that old, because I have my side project, like our monthly roundtable with a cognitive dissidence with Parallel Mike and Monica Perez. And last year we had a hard time figuring out a name, so we went with Cognitive Dissidence. The is this, I guess, British band that's been around for decades, and he dropped an album called Ensoulment last year, and one of the songs is Cognitive Dissident. It's absolutely fantastic. He's touching on
I'm familiar with the. I didn't know he was based. Is he based?
Well, his last album was excellent.
Okay.
And the Cognitive Dissident song, the lyrics and music is spot on. But anyways, the point is, whether it's music or like your music, your movies, that needs to be financed to counter the mainstream propaganda. Like that latest movie that just dropped, I saw the trailer with Leonardo DiCaprio, like left-wing woke stuff.
Oh man, I watched it. It was awful.
With Benicio del Toro, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro. It's just like basically Antifa running around killing. I mean, it was just everything you would hate about what's going on. It was just propaganda. I'd like to comment on what you just said, because I know what you're saying. Well, one thing is we could break in and take over the culture, and whatever that will lead to, that would be amazing. That would be freaking amazing. And we could create a whole, I want Jones Plantation to be the vanguard film of the dissident artist movement. We could there's so many people that think like we do, they just can't do it because they haven't seen it succeed. There's not that opportunity. You know what I mean? They have to, keep doing their thing. They have to keep their mouth shut. We could bust it wide open. But the other thing that you're talking about is, this is just kind of how I look at it. It's like the difference between a film and a movie. So like a movie is made to make money, but your creative influence goes into the project. Where a film, the inspiration is to make a great film that has a reason for living, bigger than the real-time action of the plot. But you also want to make a bunch of money. You know what I mean? So I think that's what you're talking about, where, yeah, I'm saying you're going to make a bunch of money, but you're going to probably get involved because you're inspired to get involved, because you want to take a shot at the bastards,
Yeah, and I think it's a form of resistance making these types
That's right.
of movies. Jones Plantation, music, it's buying us time. It's I like to borrow that term from, well, it's the Bible, but also the Thievery Corporation has songs on related to Babylon. It's like beat back Babylon. So it's a form of beating back
That's right.
Babylon, and so yeah. Any beyond any of this, any thoughts on what else we can do, and any closing final thoughts for us?
I think, just like I'm sure just you have to just do your best in your own life and with the people around you that you care about and try to form. This is where I'm weak is I've always been just kind of a loner, but I think we need to form groups of like-minded people to just to help. There are some out there, where we can hire each other and help each other and invest in each other's stuff. And, but the stuff that we have to make has to be good. I'm not a fan of this whole, support him and share his video. I'm like, if I don't like it, I'm not sharing it. I'm sorry. It's got to be good. You share it. You know what I mean? If I don't want to watch it, I'm not sharing it, so it's got to be great. And I just think we could, like I said, we could crush, because, there's just Hollywood is so bad right now. And I was telling you, I'm going to do like a film thing. I am going to do something on that. I went through this phase where I went to all the regime movies, like 6 in a row. And it was like over the course of like 3 months, maybe even 2, maybe less. And it was appalling how bad it was. It was appalling. And it's inversion. It's all inversion. Men are women, women are men. Everybody's gay. It's all anti-human flourishing. Inversion. That's what it all is. It just lies. It's worse than the worst Soviet propaganda films. It's that bad. And it's also, the quality is an insult to my intelligence. So there's a huge freaking lane that we could take. You know what I mean? And who knows, get some wins, and what'll happen with that, I don't know. Have some fun. It'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I think just try to laugh at the whole thing and see the cosmic joke. God is the ultimate prankster. What you were talking about this earlier, I don't know if I commented, but if they form some weird religion, that's going to be, in a way, hilarious. It's so ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's so patently evil and stupid. It's just going to be like, are you kidding me, man? That's another good thing. If you could find a way to laugh at it, because it's just so dumb. It's so crazy.
I've said I'm going to laugh on the way to the algorithm ghetto. Like, what else? That's a form of resistance as well. And they hate it. So you laugh at them. And what you said, I just had on Richard Grove, and towards the end we were talking about growth mode, which is what you're talking about. So let's get into growth mode. Let's do good stuff,
right?
With love and peace, and laughter, in comparison with their anti-human, sick, disgusting way of being. And what you said, and Teddy Roosevelt, I often cited him. One of my guests 5 years ago, Ricardo Bossi, cited Teddy Roosevelt. Whatever one thinks of him, no human being is perfect, but Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you got where you're at, and it's that simple.
Yeah. And this last little thing, if we end up hating everything that's going on, they win. They're the ones with the hate, not you. You know what I mean?
Love your enemies, as Jesus said. And best play, all your links are always in the description. Tell people, buy Jones Plantation. You've got merch. What are the best places to go? Your current projects, how can people support?
If they just go to drewmedia.studio, I basically just, it's right now, it's just looks like a link tree. I have the links to everything on there. And I'm just about to launch a Substack. It's called drewtv.substack.com. That'll be on drewmedia.studio as well. I just want to have one place where everybody can go find everything. They can find the film at jonesplantationfilm.com. Or it's on most of the platforms. You can find it there too. So, but if they go to drewmedia.studio, they can find all my stuff and hit me up.
All right. I wasn't aware of that website. So very cool. Thank you for coming on Geopolitics and Empire.
Yeah, it was great. Good talking with you, man.